Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Eddie. I lost over 125 pounds. I've kept that weight off now for over 22 years. And a lot of my videos talk about health, fitness, lifestyle, and weight loss specifically. And I get into a lot of different things about, little tips and tricks on how to stay full and eating protein and fiber and all these other things. But today's video is a little different because all of that information is out there if you really wanted to look for it. But what's not out there is some of the things that I really connected to and why I decided to lose weight. And along the journey, what are some of the things that I clung on to in terms of motivation, in terms of really keeping my eye on the ball or keeping my motivation up in terms of, making progress and continuing to move forward and drop the weight and drop the weight. Remember, I lost over 125 pounds. I did it fast. It took me only 6 months, but I think for most people, it might take you a little longer, and that's okay. That's healthy, but you need that constant kind of motivation. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I was able to connect to throughout my journey. And maybe you can relate to this because it was more than just about losing weight. It was about becoming the best version of myself. And so I've got some notes here. I don't have a whiteboard because I use my phone to record and I have it flipped. So if I had a whiteboard, everything would be backwards. So you guys wouldn't be able to kind of see it. But I do have some notes here that I have on my computer. So if you see me looking over here, that's why. So let's get into it. So when I was younger, I lost my weight at 19. From about the age of about 18 or so, all the way through till very recently, actually, I used to always read Men's Health magazine. So if you're familiar with Men's Health magazine, I used to get them. They used to be a lot better back then, in my opinion. Now they've kind of gone downhill a bit. But I used to get these Men's Health magazines, and I used to read through, and it wasn't about the cover model, that shirtless that I was excited about. That wasn't so much what I was excited about. I would look at the workouts and I would look at, do this 30-day plan to lose weight or whatever. And my main motivation didn't come from that. My main motivation came, from getting healthy. But I looked at that person that was behind that, photo shoot, right? And I thought about what do they do? What do they eat every day? Things like that. I've talked about this in past videos. But I also looked at different parts of the magazine that wasn't just fitness related. So for example, I looked at the cool watches. They have a section, like if it was fall coming up, now that we're at the end of here, middle of August, but we're coming into fall soon, like a Men's Health magazine now would talk about really cool fall outfits. What's in style? What about fashion? What kind of cool gadgets that men should own? If you're, a man and you want to get cool gadgets, whether you like hunting, whether you like cars, whether you like sports, all of these other different areas of life that I really connected to, because it wasn't about losing weight because I fell in love with doing squats or I fell in love with walking or running. It was more so I fell in love with trying to become this best version of myself that dressed well, that had really cool hobbies, that had really good relationships, because they have a lot of things on relationship advice, was really good in bed, right? Like, it's funny to say, but like, absolutely, when I was 19, 20 years old, probably 18, 19, I was reading about what can I do. And women have this in Cosmopolitan. If you've ever read a Cosmopolitan magazine, it puts Men's Health to shame because they get really detailed. But in my Men's Health magazines, I would go in there and I would read about what I need to do and what I need to focus on, and when you're with a woman and things like that, like all types of stuff. Like, I just wanted to be a better person. I was, 18, 19 years old, very impressionable, and I wanted I was growing up, right? And I wanted to make sure that I was adding these different components to become the best version of myself. So it was, losing weight and getting more confident. It was dressing better. I really enjoy fashion now because when I lost weight, I realized, wow, this whole new world of like what kind of clothes I like to wear, because I can actually feel good when I put this clothes on, right? So there was all these different areas about life, about becoming a man, that I was excited about and that made me kind of strive to be that best version of myself. What kind of books should I be reading? How should I educate myself? What kind of clothes should I be thinking about? What was men's fashion like? Because I do believe that men should dress well and act a certain way and be, educated and, know how to treat a woman. All of those things were just different peripheral stuff that I got out of Men's Health. aside from the workouts and aside from the fitness stuff and all of that. And so again, it wasn't about becoming, some cover model that's going to be on a Men's Health magazine one day. It was more just about becoming the best version of myself. I didn't start lifting weights because I loved squats. I started because I wanted to look and feel like the men that I admired when I would look at these magazines and I would see a well-dressed man in a suit, or I would see that man doing, a chest press or whatever other exercise in the magazine, in the workouts. I wanted to look like that. I wanted to feel like that. And so I asked myself, what are the things that I need to do to be able to look and feel that way and to feel really confident and to be able to put on my clothes and feel good and so forth. And so I talk about this because I want you to maybe think about finding something that inspires you. And my audience typically is men 35 and older, but there's a lot of women that come on here too. And women, typically they go onto Pinterest and stuff like that, and they look at motivation and they look at outfit ideas and stuff like that. Men can do that too. I have Pinterest on my phone. And when I think about an outfit, or when I think about whatever I want to wear to feel good and to look good with my body type, where I'm a little more muscular, I'm not like a super, super skinny Italian guy, right? I want to go onto Pinterest and I want to look at examples of my body and my build and what kind of clothes looks good. That stuff for me works. I'm not saying that you have to be into fashion to be able to lose weight. I'm not saying that you have to be into any specific thing to lose weight. But I do think that it helps to ask yourself, what are the things that are important to me? What are the things that I feel like I can resonate with? And then look at some of the people that are in those areas. Go to Pinterest, go online, Google stuff, and try to connect with those people and try to ask yourself, like, what kind of lives do they lead? And how can I do more of the stuff that they do in terms of, and then as a side, almost like a side effect, you end up getting healthier because you end up envisioning this whole person, this avatar that you want to become. And all of a sudden, you're not just eating healthy because you want to lose weight and step on the scale and see a lower weight. You're losing weight because you're becoming this part of this bigger plan. You're becoming this other person that looks good, feels confident, shows up to work really confident, shows up to a date if you're in the dating scene really confident. Maybe if you're out there and you're divorced and you're back on the scene, whatever it is, like you want to be confident in how you show up every single day. You want to be confident with your kids if you have kids, or with your wife if you're married, or your significant other. And so those are all reasons to show up in the best version of yourself. And why only focus on eating enough protein, getting enough steps? Like, yeah, those are basics. And I have a million videos talking about all that stuff. But this video is more about like, what are the other stuff that you need to focus on to keep yourself excited to continue to strive toward being that best version of yourself? So a couple tips that I want to give you guys today. When you see someone that inspires you, you need to do an identity shift. You need to start to shift your identity into that person. And the way that you do that is you don't just admire them and say, oh, wow, this guy looks good. He's dressed well. Ask yourself, like, study them. What kind of habits do those people have? Like, how do they carry themselves? What do they do that makes them who they are? Do they go out to the symphony? Do they, are they big into sports, right? And they go to sports events, which is probably many of you guys out there. But look, when I lived in Chicago, I used to love going to the symphony. It was one of my favorite things to do. I used to love going to the symphony, and I used to like getting dressed up. And part of the whole process was feeling good in a tuxedo, because they would have this event to start the season in September, I think it was, in Chicago. And you'd go to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and I would dress up in a tuxedo. And part of that was not only just the symphony. The symphony was amazing. And if you've never been to a live symphony, I highly recommend it. But it was more so the whole experience of showing up in a tuxedo, feeling good, feeling confident, showing up as the best version of yourself, well-groomed. Like, that's another thing that Men's Health has, was like a grooming section on how to make sure that your beard looks tidy. You don't want to look like a giant mess. Like, make sure that you look and feel the way that you want to look and feel. And there's little things that you can do to get there. So I would show up to the symphony, and I would, I had my tuxedo on, and I looked good, and I looked the part. And that's the version of myself that I wanted to be. And I was just, the more I did that, the more I proved to myself that I can be this person and I am this person. And that identity starts to really sink in and really solidify in terms of who you are, the kind of things that you do. On the weekends, I was running marathons at the time, so I would go for long runs on the weekends. At night, maybe it was a show, or maybe it was hanging at the bar with friends, but drinking some healthier stuff or some healthier alternatives if I'm drinking alcohol. All of these different peripheral things make who you are. And losing weight and getting healthy is not just about what you eat and how many steps you have or your workouts. It's about all of these other things in life that come together to form who it is that you are. Now, you don't need to adopt their whole entire life, but you can start by asking yourself, what do these people do? How do they carry themselves? And start to weave little things into your life. You might end up finding some new hobbies that you never even considered that you actually really enjoy or like. Like, I've been reading a magazine or a book or something, and I read about an experience. For example, I was reading because I've fallen in love with Paris. I've been to Paris a few times, and I was reading a lot about Hemingway's days in Paris in the 1920s, in the early 1920s. And I've read so much about music and art in that time that now I'm more interested in learning about art from that time. And now I'm interested in learning more about Dali and about Picasso and about some of the other Cézanne and some of these other artists that were in their peak, right, in the 1920s and living in Paris and living this crazy, interesting life. Now I'm interested in learning about that. But if I wouldn't have picked up a book and learned and read about that time, I would have never found out that I was interested in that stuff. And now when I go to an art gallery, or a museum, I'm a lot more interested, and I'm looking at it from a different perspective and with a different perspective. And it's really enriching to be able to say, that's a part of me that I love. Like, I'm not only this healthy person that helps people lose weight, I'm also all of these other things. I'm rich culturally. I'm rich from a health perspective. Those are all things to be proud of, and they form who you are, and they help kind of prop up and support all of the decisions that you make every day. So some examples and some really kind of tactical stuff that you can actually implement and do in your life. So if you admire a stylish man, upgrade your wardrobe. If you're like me and you see these men that are dressed well, and whether it's Men's Health or whether it's Pinterest or whether anywhere it is, or whether you're out somewhere and you see someone with a nice, tailored suit or whatever it is, and you're like me and you like fashion, because I really enjoy fashion, then start by going and figuring out a new wardrobe, and think about some of the outfits that can maybe pull you out of your comfort zone and help you to kind of change this identity and make sure that you're becoming this new person. If you admire an adventurous man, then maybe plan a weekend trip, whether it's with your significant other or by yourself. Go on a trip, go hiking, look at some of the cool gadgets that you can get for that kind of stuff if you're into that. I'm not really a big kind of outdoorsy person myself, but if that's something that you're into, then you can use that to kind of pull you into that lifestyle and to help drive a lot of the decisions that you make. And guess what? If you're an outdoor person that you like to hike or you like to do outdoor stuff, like, you're probably not overweight with a beer belly and drinking, eating wings and drinking beer with your friends. Like, you're probably a lot different. You're probably healthier. You take care of yourself. You have the good amount of stamina and cardiovascular health to be able to go for a walk and go for a hike and do those things. And so those are all things that help you become the person that you're becoming. Remember, this isn't a video about just losing fat. This is a video about becoming the man that you want to become. And this is up to you. You have a blank slate to be able to, and you might be thinking, oh, well, I'm in my 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s. I can't just change who I am. Guess what? You can. You absolutely can change who you are. You can decide to be whoever it is that you want to be. You can today snap your fingers and decide, I want to change my life and I want to become this other person and this other version of myself, because that's a healthier, whatever, more adventurous or more fashionable or whatever version of myself. And you can become that person. And by being excited about all the stuff that comes with that lifestyle, you'll continue to do the right things and eat healthy and walk and run or work out or do everything that you need to do to be able to kind of step into that new identity that you've created for yourself. It's a really exciting thing. If you're someone who admires a fit man, eat like a fit man. Eat the type of stuff that they eat. Work out like they work out. If you like big, broad shoulders, find what kind of workouts help you with developing your shoulders. If you like a big chest, if you like that V body, do pull-ups. Look up this stuff and try to engage with the same things that person engages with, so that you can become that kind of person. And so it's not about changing everything at once, because if you are really overweight, you're not going to be able to one day just wake up and be 100 pounds lighter or 50 pounds lighter and be this new identity. However, what you can do is that these small lifestyle changes, they start to add up, and you start to slowly and surely become this new identity, this new version of yourself. And so there's nothing that says that you can't feel that way now. You may not look the part immediately, but you can feel it inside of you. My last video, I talked a lot about like how you need to feel it inside before you see it in your outer world. And I don't think that there's any reason why you can't say, I want to feel this way. I want to feel like an adventurous person that goes and does really cool hikes, or goes camping or whatever, or goes mountain climbing. Or I want to feel like a healthy and fit person that goes to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and really takes care of their body. My body's a temple. I take care of it. I really focus on what I put into my body, and I nourish my body with the right foods. All of that stuff is just part of this new identity that you're creating for yourself. You don't need to wait until you look the part. You can feel the part first. Once you feel the part, then you're going to be able to make the decisions, and the habits are going to start building, and then you become the part little by little. And so that's kind of how it works. It's not magic. It just takes time and consistency and you becoming this new identity. But when you focus on all of that other stuff and not just how much do I weigh and what do I need to eat, then all of a sudden it's a lot more exciting. It's more fun to think about, right? Think about the man that you want to become. Put it on a vision board. You know, I have a vision board in my room. My wife does as well. Like, put it on your vision board and put a bunch of pictures of the different types of people that you want to become more like. And then when you see it every day, you're going to be reminded of what that person does on a daily basis. What kind of habits and behaviors do they have? What do they do on the weekends? What kind of work do they do? How do they show up at work? How do they show up in their relationships? Whether it's family relationships or whether it's with a significant other. Like, all of these things matter, and you can embody all of these things little by little. It's just exciting to be able to have that to look forward to, and to be able to start to become this new best version of yourself. So again, some practical steps. The first thing I would do is, identify who you're inspired by. So it could be an actor. When I was going through the men's health magazines, I didn't really have a specific person. I've never really been big on actors. I guess maybe the only actor that I like a lot in terms of like that I want to look like because he's aged really well is George Clooney. I think he's aged incredibly well. He has my style. He's had the beard. He's had the no beard. He looks good both ways. He's not overly strong and built, but he's got a decent body. So that was, for me, someone that I've always looked up to, right? He's got the salt and pepper, but he makes it look good. I've got salt and pepper. I don't plan on dyeing my hair. My wife loves it, so I'm fine with it. And I feel super comfortable with it, and I enjoy it. So I'm aging gracefully in that way, and I want to age like George Clooney. That's my thing, right? You can find whoever it is that you want to be inspired by and get pictures of that person. Do research on what kind of stuff they do. What kind of lifestyle do they lead? What kind of diet do they have? These days, if it's a celebrity or an actor or someone like that, you can find all of that stuff on whether it's ChatGPT or Google. You can kind of look up this stuff and you can find what they do and how they live their lives and what kind of clothing they wear, and even down to like with the brands that they wear sometimes. So find your inspiration. It could be a public figure. It can be a fictional character. It can be anybody. It can be a cartoon and you want to look like Buzz Lightyear and you want to have that build and whatever it is, pick whatever your inspiration is. It could be a basketball player, a football player, an athlete, anybody that you want. Find that person, find that inspiration that has kind of like your similar build that you want to look and feel like, and start to do the research on them and start to realize what it is that you can incorporate in your life to be more like them. And it's not about becoming more like them so much. It's becoming the best version of yourself, but at least you have kind of like this North Star. You know what? Like I respect that person. I respect the way he shows up in interviews, or he shows up in movies, or he shows up wherever. I like the way that they show up on the red carpet, nice and dressed and whatever, and looking sharp. And then try to identify with that and try to connect to that. The other thing I'll say is, look at some of the lifestyle traits that they embody. So, right, looking at things like their style, right? What kind of style do they have? What kind of fitness are they into? What kind of hobbies do they have? Are they in relationships? What kind of work do they do? What kind of work ethic do they do? Because you're not going to go and quit your career and go do something that someone else does, especially if they're an actor or an athlete. But you can look at what kind of a work ethic they have. And you can look up this stuff and you can start to be really energized and motivated and inspired by those people that are really doing, some of the greatest things in their field. We can be inspired by that. And so I think that's a really cool thing to do, to be inspired by people that are at the top of their game. There's no reason for us to not take inspiration from that and try to level ourselves up in that way. And then the other thing is, pick a trait, pick just like one thing or one or two things that you can act on this week. So it could be something like, and again, I'm looking at my notes here, it could be something like buying one better fitting shirt. Like you can go and maybe you wear really baggy clothes, right? And then when I lost weight, I used to wear really baggy clothes because I was overweight and I was really uncomfortable in my clothes, and so I wore baggy clothes. And then when I lost weight, I went through this whole period where I was buying everything slim fit. Now I'm comfortable and I don't really care that much. And this shirt that I'm wearing, it's not super slim fit, but it accentuates like my shoulders and my muscles, and I feel comfortable in this shirt, right? So I wear it and it's super comfortable and it works with me. And it allows me to kind of, for a YouTube video, for, showing up at work, or whatever it is. But you can go and you can buy one better fitting shirt. If you wear really baggy stuff, buy something that fits you a little better. You can join a local sports league if you want to be a little more athletic. And it's a great way to meet people. In Chicago, it was really big for people to get into kickball leagues, volleyball leagues on the beach, because in the summer, we only have like 2 to 3 months of warm weather. And so everybody wants to be outside doing stuff. And then you can also think about, and you can also look a lot of this stuff up, but like, how do they start their mornings? How do they start their days? Do they start by reading? Do they start by having coffee? Do they start by doing any kind of, morning ritual or a morning kind of routine? It doesn't mean you have to do everything exactly how they do it, but you can pull inspiration from some of the stuff they do. Success leaves clues. And if you look at someone that is fit, healthy, looks the way that you want to look, feels the way that you want to feel, then you can pull different tidbits from their lifestyle and that success that they're having in all areas of their life, professionally, health-wise, financially. You can learn from some of the clues that you can gather from their lifestyle and the way that they carry themselves. So start to pick apart these little things and start to implement 1 or 2 things this week and see how that feels and see how you start to change your identity. All of a sudden, becoming healthy and losing weight becomes almost like this side effect that's natural because you're just becoming this new person. That's really exciting and it keeps you kind of motivated. So again, when you start to act like this new man that you want to become, all of a sudden it just feels like a natural extension of you, right? So you're eating well, you're training, you're dressing in a certain way, you're acting in a certain way, you're showing up in your relationships in a certain way, you're waking up and doing certain things in the morning that kind of kick off your day the way that they would kick off their day. And all of a sudden you're becoming this new version of yourself, and it's really exciting and motivating. Men over 35, which is, most of my audience here, when I do the analytics and I look at all the people that watch this channel, there are women who watch this channel, and I have women clients that I work with because obviously I coach busy professionals and I do have women that I coach. But it's mostly men. And it's, you guys are in a perfect position to do this because if you're like in your 30s or 40s, like I'm 42, I'm going to be 43 right now. Like love the idea of reinventing myself. And, lately I've been really into like different types of fashion and old, like, Italian kind of old school ways of dressing where you have like the linen shirts, and I live in Miami, so it's warm. So you can do the linen shirts and the linen pants, and it just feels good and it's different and it's something to be excited about. And it makes me happy because, again, I'm into fashion. It might be for you sports, or it might be something else, or it might be the way that an actor carries himself. But you guys have lived enough, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you guys have lived enough to kind of know really who you are. And you know enough to kind of be able to do the research to figure out who it is that you want to become and how do you kind of bridge that gap. And so I feel like you still have decades to live. You still have most of your life ahead of you. And so you can change now and you can decide to kind of adopt a new identity and become this new, better, upgraded, optimized version of yourself. So you guys are in the perfect position to do this. And then again, it's not only about losing weight. It's about, waking up and building a life that you're proud of. It's about becoming this new version of yourself that you're proud of. The weight loss is just kind of like a secondary thing. You're optimizing your entire life, and weight is just a byproduct of it. Your strength and your weight is just a byproduct of it. So if you want to know more about building this kind of identity, if you want to know more about making fitness more of a lifestyle thing, that's what this channel is about. I have a lot of videos, and I'll probably make more where I talk about tips and tricks on how to lose weight, eating more protein, eating fiber, staying full. I'm going to continue to do those videos now and then, but I am going to start to shift a little more toward what really matters, because you can look up on Google or on ChatGPT a meal plan. You can look up how many calories do I need to eat. You can look up all of that stuff. It's all at your fingertips. Literally, you have it at your disposal whenever you want it in an instant. And so I can make videos about that, and I have made videos about that, but I'm gonna start to make more videos about my experience losing weight and all of the peripheral stuff, all of the other stuff that really matters that you're not gonna be able to get from ChatGPT, that you're not gonna be able to get from Google, because it's different for everybody. And I'm hoping that by talking about these different things that helped me get inspired and continue to stay motivated throughout my 6 months of losing over 125 pounds, I'm hoping that a lot of that can invite you to be inspired as well and to find your own inspiration. This isn't about finding inspiration in me. It's about finding inspiration in whatever it is that you want to become. Like, go out there and look again at athletes, actors, anybody out there that kind of embodies the person, the man that you want to become, and pull inspiration from that. I try to weave these things into my coaching. That's why my coaching is different than any other coaching out there, is because yeah, it's about calories and steps and the basics. You got to do that stuff. And most people need accountability with that stuff. And so I help with that. But it's also about becoming this new version of yourself and becoming this upgraded version of yourself, this optimized version of yourself. So if you like that kind of content, comment below. Tell me, do you resonate with a specific athlete? Is there anybody out there, an actor or someone that you really want to become? Women too, if women are watching this and you want to comment on who it is that you embody. These days you can go on YouTube and you can look up all the information you want in the world on these people, and you can really start to kind of digest and see what it is that they do, how they live their lives, what kind of things they're into, and you can start to incorporate some of that stuff, and it makes it exciting throughout your entire journey. If you're interested in learning more about coaching, I do limited coaching. There's a link in the description where you can click in and we can set up a call to see if it's something that's the right fit for you. Like, subscribe. Again, a lot of the people that watch this channel, I think over 80 or 90% of you aren't subscribed. So if you subscribe and you comment, it helps other people find this content that are looking for this content out there. It just helps it easier to be found. So I appreciate you if you watched this far. Thank you so much. And I will see you on the next video. Cheers.